Yo buddy, what's going on my fellow trainers? Veteran X here, and today let's have a little chat about Pokemon and some of the worst features that has ever been in this franchise. Pokemon has been around for a very long time, and throughout Pokemon's lifetime we've seen some wonderful features, but there are definitely some duds along the way, and some of them are really bad. Alright, no need for a long YouTube intro, let's get right into the video. So to introduce the first mechanic, did you know that Pokeballs could miss the target? What? I'm talking about way back in the day. Let's turn back the clock and go back to Generation 1. So we all know that Generation 1 was the very beginning of Pokemon, and they introduced something that was pretty annoying. So when you're trying to capture legendary Pokemon, there's a chance that your Pokeball could just miss. For whatever reason, your trainer just gets a freaking noodle arm and he can't toss the Pokeball at Zapdos's huge freaking beak. I have no idea why this was implemented in Pokemon, and it annoyed the 6-year-old me so much. What made this so frustrating is that this isn't introduced at no point in the game. There's no tutorial for it. The old man doesn't say, hey, by the way, there's a chance Pokeballs could miss. Nothing. It just randomly happens when you're facing off against legendary Pokemon. And I'm just like, what? Come on, it's already tough enough to capture them. Now you gotta tell me I have to aim, even though that's out of my control. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this was implemented. And there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry, just gotta keep chucking more Pokeballs at his freaking forehead. Thankfully, this horrible feature was axed within the next generation of Pokemon, so it's literally just a thing of the past. Thank you! Let's transition nicely into Breakable TMs. Okay, so there was always a conundrum of like, okay, which Pokemon is going to learn this move? Because my team is going to break after this. I can't use it anymore. Now, there were a little workarounds with this, like in Generation 2, I know that you could clone Pokemon, and they're held items. So if you had a Pokemon hold, let's say TM35 for Flamethrower, and you cloned it, bam, you can have basically infinite flamethrowers. You can burn and scorch everything to the ground as much as you want. Now, I will say, Game Freak did learn from their mistake. In Generation 5, they introduced reusable TMs, which is literally one of my favorite quality of life improvement ever in Pokemon. Unfortunately, now with the latest generation of Pokemon, including Scarlet and Violet, Breakable TMs have made a disgusting return. Ugh. And the reason why they're here is that it helps flesh out the open world within Scarlet and Violet. There's like side quests you can do to gather materials to make more TMs. And you know, some people have said that they like that mechanic because, you know, it gives them more reason to explore the worlds and, you know, do activities. But I just want my TMs to not break. This problem was fixed by Game Freak years ago, and now it's being introduced to us. Come on, Game Freak. You take one step forward and take 85,000 steps backwards. We still love you, though. Now, the next feature that is just so disheartening in Pokemon was fishing for heart scales and also not being able to change moves on the fly. So this is like a 2-for-1 thing. So with heart scales, this is how you are able to make your Pokemon learn older moves. Unfortunately, you have to farm for heart scales. So back in Generation 3, you would have to literally fish up Love Disc and steal heart scales from them. Yeah, you're going to be a common thug back in the day to get those heart scales, and this feature carried over into other Pokemon games as well. And Gen 3 was when I really started to dive into like competitive Pokemon and the PvP scene. So yeah, I had to grind and farm for Love Disc and their precious scales to make my Pokemon learn older moves that they somehow forgot or just learned like at really low levels. Thankfully, recent Pokemon games have fixed this issue entirely. For example, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you can just swap moves on the fly by accessing the menu. There's no more having to go to a move relearner and pay them in blood with heart scales. You can just open up the menu and swap out the moves. Easy peasy, baby. Now that's what I'm talking about. A feature or gameplay mechanic within Pokemon that I pray never comes back up are roaming Pokemon. This was the bane of my existence in Gen 2. So for those who aren't aware, roaming Pokemon are Pokemon that you can find in random encounters and they'll just run away after the first turn. It freaking sucks. You have to either use a Master Ball or try to use some gimmicky plays to help put it asleep or lock it in place. It is horrible. I don't know anyone who enjoyed this ever. What was Game Freak thinking in their creative studio brains? Like, huh? This would be a good idea to implement. The trainers, they'll love that.
Radical.
And in more modern Pokemon games, the Pokemon now spawns in the overworld, so instead of roaming, they're just out and about minding their business, flying around or roaming around the grass or swimming in water. So this issue no longer applies. They don't just automatically run away after the first turn. Thank you. And now, we're going to talk about one of the worst features ever in Pokemon, and that is permanent HMs, or hidden machines. These things were awful, and we kind of didn't really know it at the time, but it didn't really hit until we got to Generation 4, and we had to utilize certain Pokemon just to hold every HM slot. Hey, Barrel, use Strength, Rock Smash, Waterfall, Surf. Here, this second one. And it was just ridiculous having to keep track of this. And then HMs, you couldn't delete them. They were permanent moves. And that just took up a slot for your Pokemon to have moves that you want to actually use. Thankfully, they did learn from their mistakes, and they introduced many other ways to utilize traversal options within the games. You have Poke Ride within Sun and Moon. You have seamless transitions in Scarlet and Violet. So Game Freak has definitely learned their mistakes from permanent HMs. Thank goodness. Now, of course, there are some features that I'm probably forgetting or just slipped my mind, but I don't want this to be like a I hate Game Freak video. There was just some mistakes that were made along the way, and Game Freak has made some really great design choices within some of their games. It just feels so good to finally get these things off of my chest, because I always wonder, like, I wonder what other people think are their worst features they ever encountered in Pokemon. Please let me know. I know you guys probably have some great stories within the comments. Once again, my name is Veteranets. I live stream on Twitch at Hey Veteranets, so I'd love to see you over there sometime. And now, with all of that out of the way, get out there and let's go play some freaking video games.